My husband, both of his grandfathers had wineries, believe it or not. His paternal grandfather had a winery in Santa Rosa. He had a grocery store as well, so the wine he made, he sold in the grocery store in gallon jugs out of the barrel. People brought their gallon jug in. In fact, when he was a kid in high school, that was his job, to fill people's gallon jugs that they brought in. It was quite run down and all. Been in the same family for over 100 years when we bought it. The last generation had no children, so there were 3 old ladies left. All the men had died off, and so they just had to sell it. It had old vineyard on it. They had raised peaches and prunes and all kinds of fruit, but they had no irrigation because it's very hard in this area to get a decent well, and they, I guess, probably never had the money to dig a well if they could have found water. We managed the vineyard for several years. This was in 1956, and finally we started to get a little bit more than $50 a ton for the grapes. So we thought, well, maybe we should take some of the old pastures and plant grapes in them, see if we can make a little more money. And so it turned out that Bob Sisson was the Sonoma County Ag Commissioner at the time, and he happened to be a patient of my husband's for his dental work. We asked him, he said, you know, what do you think we should plant in this area? And he said, I think you should plant Pinot Noir and Chardonnay. It'd be perfect for that. So Charles said, well, I don't know where I'd get anything like that. He said, nobody around here grows that. He said, why don't you go down to Livermore and ask Carl Wente if you can get some budwood from him. So we did. This was in 1964. We knew nothing about farming, either one of us. We were professional people. But of course, I've always felt that my background and my husband's background in chemistry and that sort of thing is helpful. In the early days, my husband was, of course, full-time in the office, so the pruning, we kept on with who the people had before. The old ladies had a couple of old Italians who used to come out and prune the vineyards. They were all head pruned those days, and they knew how to do it. We didn't know how to do it, so we hired them year after year till they got too old to do it. They taught us a lot, just, you know, by doing.
We're picking Zinfandel. Started at 7. It's going to take us about 2 hours. The crop's a little bit bigger this year. The quality is great because it didn't rain as much as it did last year. We did get a little bit of rain on it this year, but not as significant as last year. The old vines, it's harder to get airflow in them than it is on a trellis system. Rot's the biggest problem, keeping the rot out of it, out of the old vine stuff. Because of the airflow, because of the lack of sun exposure.
The Russian River Valley is a tremendous appellation. Of course, we go from almost south of Healdsburg clear, you know, quite far south. So even in this appellation, there's a big variation in climate. We have this wonderful red clay loam that's oxidized iron in it. That's what makes it red. And I really do think that gives the grapes a special flavor. And of course, in our case, we have wonderful water and a minimum amount of heat. And that's what really kills vineyards is these spikes of heat. That's why the grapes from over in the valley, they lose their acid if the heat gets too high. And you want that acid in there, the natural acid in the grape.
This is an old style training system. This is what they were doing in the 1800s when the Europeans first came over. This is how they trained their vines. Just a single trunk and a spur prune, no wire. And it's, you know, that's why we've moved to wire, because it does work better as far as controlling disease. Much slower to pick this, yeah. You have to go around the vine. If you have it on wire, our wire is just about at worker height. The fruit's all in a line. You put the tub under, you just cut fruit. In this case, they have to go around the vine. They have to hunt out the bunches. So it takes them longer.
We sold some Chardonnay, about 15 tons, to Chateau Montelena in 1973, I believe it was. That was the Chardonnay that went to Paris in the 76 tasting. Most people don't know where the Chardonnay came from for that wine, because Napa County never wanted anybody to know that the grapes came from Sonoma County. And a lot of people still don't know that. I remember when we first planted that block of Chardonnay that went to Paris, we brought up the stem, and then we trained the first canes out here, and then we went up and on a higher wire and put another one. And the people at Davis said, well, that's not going to work. That's not going to work, because the top is going to shade out the bottom, and you won't get any fruit down there. Well, we're still doing the same way, and that wasn't true. And then, of course, we have taken courses over the years at Davis, and we still go to the American Society of Viticulture and Enology scientific sessions every year. There's always something to learn in this business. You never know it all, I'm going to tell you.